how do you see or perceive the way forward in terms of the variety? And perhaps Secretary Johnson, you can also speak to the perimeter of security that we have here. For instance, in terms of terrorism, if any terrorist wanting to harm the United States, the only way to come here is direct, through Canada or through Mexico. So you need badly this cooperation anyway because of geopolitical conditions. So I'd like to hear your comments, please.
Thank you.
So first, and we haven't really talked about this much, but Jorge understands this way better than me. Immigration in Mexico is a very sensitive political issue. Immigration is considered a human right in Mexico. And in Mexico, there's great sensitivity to not being perceived as simply doing the U.S.'s bidding on their southern border, on their northern border. And so there's a point at which the president of Mexico will feel that the national honor is at stake in its relationship with the United States, given the relationship with President Trump. And so the course we're on now, the dynamic we're on now, I don't believe can sustain itself for much longer. I think the relationship's going to become far more tense. I give the new president of Mexico a lot of credit for how he's handled our president so far, but it's not a sustainable relationship and a sustainable dynamic. In terms of the way forward, there has to be a bipartisan solution in our country. You cannot achieve meaningful immigration reform at any level without Congress, without a change in law, and without a bipartisan solution. And the well is so poisoned right now that that's simply not achievable. There's going to have to be a significant change in the political dynamic in this country. In terms of the security piece, the places where we need to continue to focus our resources and our investments and our intelligence and our attention is at ports of entry. The really bad stuff is smuggled in vehicles, trucks. And statistics show that the largest quantities of narcotics and occasionally people are smuggled in at ports of entry, not across the land border. And so any border security expert will tell you more surveillance technology, more intelligence capability.
So just following up on what Enrique said, Enrique, by the way, did not identify himself. He's one of Mexico's premier diplomats and an intellectual, per se, and I thank him for being here.
Welcome.
But he said cooperation and confrontation, and I will caveat what you say that Mexico's pride may be threatened by doing the U.S.'s bidding. Let me caveat that by saying by doing Trump's bidding.
Yes.
We're okay cooperating.
Absolutely.
We're not okay doing Trump's bidding if he thinks that the way he gets it is just by humiliating and insulting us. So that's when it comes into treacherous territory. And,
agree totally.
And so that's when we go into the confrontation.
Mm-hmm. I know we're supposed to look at this, from a larger perspective, but with respect to the U.S.-Mexico relationship, as a Texan, as a son of immigrants from Mexico, my mom from Ciudad Juarez, my dad from Chihuahua, it's heartbreaking. One of the most stressful times is when the U.S. and Mexico play each other in soccer. It sounds funny, but it gets into such a political, like, love it or leave it, or if you're so loyal, why don't you raise that flag? And I just, it's disheartening, especially in border states, because there are immigrant communities all over the country in every state, and it's a beautiful thing. The difference, though, is that in Texas and the border, it's right there. You can see it. And it's so entwined. So when there's all this rhetoric and finger pointing, it breaks my heart. That's the only way I can say it. And I'm speaking for a lot of Mexican Americans, a lot of Mexican nationals, a lot of dual citizens, a lot of people that have been naturalized citizens.